Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. On this week's show, we are going to recap the one championship match between Ash Williams and Fabricio Andrey. We are also going to preview the heavyweight bout, the main event of Who's Number 127, which is Kaynan Duarte versus Nick Rodriguez 3. Third time they're going against each other. And that is pretty much it. We also have some news to talk about this week. Overall, a pretty light week, so it's going to be awesome. We are previewing Nicky Rod and Kaynan Duarte a week early, so we can spend some more time on it. It's a trilogy match, and there's a lot to talk about.
We're hoping that's not bad juju on our part.
Yeah, as per usual. So, as always on the show, I am your host, Maine, joined by my co-host,
Miranda.
How you doing, Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We got some training in right before this, doing this actually after open mat. So, happy to be here. So, let's go into news first.
Yeah, I'm happy that Maine didn't break my arm today.
We had a great training session.
It
was
fun.
Very good. I got you in the gi for once, which was nice.
which is not.
You didn't have a great time. I had a great time in the gi.
Yeah.
So, big news this week. We don't think it is an April Fool's joke. Actually, both pieces of news we don't think are April Fool's jokes, but given what time of year it is, it very much could be.
It could also be like inside jokes that we're just not accustomed to or part of the community that would know the answer to that.
So the main event for CJI, allegedly, is going to be Craig Jones versus Gabe Steveson.
Steveson.
I
No
knew.
N.
We talked about it before the show
Steveson.
on the pre-show, and I was like, get his name right. Get his name right. I always want to
Steveson.
make his name Stevenson, and it is not Steveson.
Yeah.
Gabe Steveson, phenomenally decorated. Miranda has a whole slew of notes.
Yeah.
Miranda, you want to run through all his accolades? So he's a very, very good American wrestler.
Yes, he is a 24-year-old out of the University of Minnesota, a grad student. He's a 5-time All-American.
Which is phenomenal.
This one like really confused the crap out of me because he's a 2020 Summer Olympics gold medalist in freestyle wrestling, but the match was held in 2021.
Yeah,
because it was during that weird.
Yeah, it was. We did it like it's 2020, but we're gonna do it in 2021.
Yeah,
we're just gonna call it 2020.
Yeah, but so he did that freestyle wrestling, 125 kilograms, which is 275.5 pounds.
He is a big boy.
He's a very big boy.
Yep.
And 2 NCAA titles, 4 Big Ten titles, all at 285.
Again, reiterating, he is a very big boy.
And this year he was 70-0 until finals at the NCAA Division I finals that were in Philly.
Literally undefeated until like last week, and then he lost in the finals.
Yeah.
Again, a very good match, a really, really huge upset match. But you also have a cool note here. He tried out for WWE. He got signed by the Buffalo Bills for NFL.
Yeah,
and then
but he
got
was cut. Yeah.
So phenomenally decorated young American wrestler.
He's also the heavyweight wrestler that if you've ever seen him, after he wins, he does backflips.
At 285.
And I mean, he does a legit back.
That's essentially a 300-pound man doing a backflip.
Yeah, doing like a handspring. And I mean,
that's impressive.
He's a very impressive athlete all around.
He's a phenomenal. Again, you don't go to potentially WWE or get signed by an NFL team without being a freak of freak athletes. You don't win an Olympic medal without being a freak athlete, 5-time American. He is phenomenally decorated and gifted in wrestling. He's going against Craig Jones. We're going to preview this as we get closer to it. I don't want to shit on the matchup too much. We've seen this before.
Yeah.
We've seen, unless we're going to do modified rules, and even then, it looks like one of two ways. Either Craig Jones gets smooshed on the bottom, or doesn't get engaged with for all the rounds, or Craig Jones, on like the second or third engagement, subs.
Yeah.
We saw it with Brandon Reed. We've seen it with Nicky Ryan versus the Torres wrestler. We've seen it during Gordon Ryan and Bo Nickel, which I was Matt's side for. We have seen this Pat Downey versus Gordon Ryan.
But
We've
I think
seen
they
it over and over and over again.
They like for CGI, they like to blend the sports.
I genuinely really appreciate the spectacle.
Yeah.
It also brings a guy like Gabe Steveson.
Steveson.
Just second T. There's no second T there. Gabe Steveson. I'm looking at the name.
Yeah.
Into CGI, it's just we've just seen the wrestler. Honestly, I would kind of much rather put him against bring another good wrestler, have a dope wrestling match if you're gonna bring a guy over, or have a guy that is closer to the caliber of jiu-jitsu that Steveson has to like make it a more interesting. Hey man,
Yeah.
to bring two wrestlers in that are freak athletes that have that are getting into jiu-jitsu, I think it would be like like Brandon Reed.
Because I mean, think about it. Like if you ever watch a heavyweight white belt match where they're like two really good white belts, I mean, you got all your higher belts sitting around like kill him, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I would
Gabe
watch,
Steveson, I think,
like,
probably wouldn't be classified as a white belt by
No,
any
but-
stretch of the
but, like, you
but
get-
still a newer
yeah.
guy into professional jiu-jitsu, putting him against guys decorated as Craig Jones, even with a weight disparity, an age disparity, like it kind of always, we've never had a wrestler jiu-jitsu match like this with this huge caliber of both guys that looks any other way than the two ways I just talked about. That's kind of my with it. But again, I like it from a marketing perspective. And speaking of a marketing perspective, any other thoughts on this?
No.
Again, we'll preview it much more closely.
Yeah.
I say this like, man, from a matchmaking perspective, I'm excited for the lead up for it. And when I see him on the ring, I'll be excited for it. We've just historically, when we do the previews for these and when we actually like the technique of the match comes in, the matches tend to be a little less exciting with this kind of matchmaking, which my only kind of I'm in for the matchup. It brings Gabe into CJI.
Yep.
It puts Craig Jones back on that event. We know he's not retired now, which is great. Or this could all be a giant April Fool's joke that we haven't got the memo for a week later.
He came back and said that, yes, he understood the time that this was being released, but that it was happening.
And I love Craig Jones.
But
I believe about half of it.
Yeah,
half the time.
I don't believe half of what he says most of the time.
So, also news this week. Maybe news this week?
No, it's not CEO, it's GM.
It's the
just
GM.
Because,
So, Ben Kovacs, is potentially, give his last name?
Yeah, Kovacs.
Is potentially the new GM of Flow Grappling. So Ben is a guy that's been instrumental in the Guardian project, which is a
Co-founder,
really co-founder of Guardian in the San Jose branch, which was the original Guardian. Guardian's a really great program. We actually have a Guardian here in Baltimore, which is the second location in the U.S. Second location, and then they've spawned other locations. It's basically a social program gym that is designed to get kids kind of off the street and into jiu-jitsu, and the kids have a free program that is supplemented by the membership fees that the adults pay for. So basically the adults program pays for kids to train for free.
Yeah, and I believe it's all a nonprofit.
Yeah, it's all nonprofit. It's actually 503, 501, whatever what actual nonprofit is.
503.
The same one that what was the foundation that Craig and them set up? Seth set up before the Fair Fight Foundation.
Yeah.
So that is the same kind of charity. It's an actual legitimate charity. And Guardian is phenomenal. So Ben is one of the founders of Guardian, and allegedly he is now the GM of Flow Grappling. He formerly was a high exec at the Twitter back in like 2013 to 2016 and like that era of like he's a real business guy. So this could be a real thing. There's videos of him hanging out with Craig. He's like a good piece of Guardian.
But it could also be like a joke that they're like an inside joke between them all. I don't know. I went to high school with Ben Kovacs. Like for real, like
it's very funny how small the world is.
Yeah, I have pictures of him from when I was the manager of the basketball team and he was on my team. So I've known him forever. It's like cool dude, so it's good foundation.
And I get a huge fan of Guardian. I have a bunch of students that train out of my club that also train at Guardian in the city, and so I have a good working relationship with Guardian, and those folks are always just phenomenal. Again, I don't deal with the San Jose branch at all. We deal with the Baltimore branch here, but again, phenomenal foundation. So it would really be cool if a guy like Ben was now the GM of Flow Grappling, because we've seen recently, we talked about it during Pans, the coverage for Pans this year was really good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the Pan, and it would kind of coincide potentially with when Ben maybe would have come into that role right around there, so maybe he's already making changes, or this is all a big joke, but again, super excited to have a guy like him potentially involved in that broadcast platform. It would also potentially be a good avenue for Craig to have some fences mended with Flow, because Craig has been very vocal about not liking to work with Flow. So if fences get mended there, potentially we could see CJI back on Flow as a broadcast partner, especially if...
I don't know. They really kind of liked the fact that they were not part of a subscription
I liked it too, but it wouldn't, if now you have this working relationship with Craig, because Craig does a lot of stuff with Guardian and the Guardian in Peru, and like it wouldn't surprise me if suddenly like, well, the new GM and now you have a working relationship, and now that business relationship might be a lot easier to engage in, or I could be completely off base.
Yeah,
but
we don't
again,
know.
It opens up interesting doors. And again, if we get a better product for the broadcast platform out of Flow, I'm all for it. Again, we've been vocal about some of the things that are great about Flow and not great about Flow for almost 10 years now.
Yeah,
and
but
so,
also, how long has it said that such and so was affiliated with Flow Grappling?
AJ Agazon.
Yeah, it said that he was like the not prime minister. What was he? President, right?
Yeah, I think that was a joke.
Like,
but we also didn't. Maybe that wasn't a joke.
But that was on his like Instagram for the longest time. So we don't really know.
So we have no idea. But again, it is news this week, and it gets us talking about CJI. And again, I'm excited for the future. Anything else on these two things?
Nope.
Also, news for this week. Miki Galvão joined the Brazilian army. And what we think happened here is Gabi Persona joined a while back as well. We think what it is essentially what Zach, or you described it as, is like the Soviet programs in the 1980s where like you were a state-sponsored athlete.
I think it's still a thing that they do.
Yeah, it is. Sorry. Yeah. But that's most notably, people know it from that era. Again, it's not how the U.S. system works, but a lot of other countries have like state-sponsored. You're in the military, but also primarily an athlete.
Yeah.
But also you do have engagements for the military.
Yeah.
You fight for like things, but it basically puts you in a social housing and pay, and like it gives you military benefits while going and representing Brazil and the Brazilian army as an athlete in certain events, and certain events are only like army to army events. And so I don't really understand the system that well from the U.S. side, because the U.S. unfortunately, doesn't really have many analogs for this.
And our guys that, the only guys that we've ever seen are the ones that like fight MMA.
Like Kim Kennedy.
And are also in the military, and they do their military things, and then they fight around the military schedule.
Yeah, it's like an whereas this seems much more state-sponsored, state like a program specifically designed to get really, really high-level world-class athletes into the military.
Well, and Zach explained it in a good way, kind of like Elvis.
Yeah, Elvis is server. So that's again big news this
as
week.
like a figurehead more than like they're not sending you into.
We're hopefully not going to have Miki Galvão like get killed in action. That'd be very unfortunate for us, because I really enjoy his game.
That would be good.
I sent like 2 reels this week from him doing a tournament in Brazil, and it was just like, I think our buddy Jeff texted me. He goes, "Dude, imagine having to fight him." And like there was basically a sequence of like 14 sequences in a row of him just like running through all this thing this guy did.
Yeah.
And then he was back and getting the finish. But that's the other news. Miranda, I have no other news this week. Anything else I forgot?
I think that's it.
Right. Let's get into the recaps. One championship, Fight Night 30, Ash Williams versus Fabricio Andrey. Result is Fabricio Andrey takes this via decision. One championship. I'm going to keep calling it 1FC. It hasn't been 1FC in like a decade. One championship.
No, but I call it one. I have to like erase FC every single time I write it down.
This match was a 10-minute match. Essentially what we think, or what I hope, this is the match to see who will fight Cole Abate.
It should be.
That's my hope. So we're going to potentially get Fabricio Andrey versus Cole Abate.
They're not the same size as Marcelo, right?
No, maybe. Ooh, I would like to see Fabricio Andrey versus Marcelo.
Let me see what this weight was.
I think this was 45. I thought Marcelo was 55.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or
and
like
older.
60 or something like that.
Yeah, because Marcelo competed at 69
No,
kilos.
it was open weight when I think about it.
Because Mazakazu Minari was like 20 pounds smaller, but I think Marcelo historically competed at 69 kilos.
Yeah.
And then 77 at ADCC. So, this match, again, I loved. There was less action in this match than I would have liked, but the action that we did get, I think, was really interesting. Fabricio Andrey leads the match very early with a takedown that you hate a ton, and I like a lot.
I just hate getting hit with foot sweeps. And because they don't make sense in my head, like when I go to try to do one, I've only done one foot sweep ever in my life, and I didn't even know that that's what I was doing, and I hit it, and I was like, holy shit, I just hit a foot sweep. But that's the only time I've ever hit one. So things that I don't understand well normally just piss me off.
So the foot sweep that Fabricio Andrey hits here, I love, partially because it's bad wrestling, but also because it's very, very...
It's not bad wrestling. It's actually good wrestling.
Well, what he hits is he is lead leg forward, and he's reaching forward with his lead hand, which historically in wrestling you're not supposed to do, because you can get your arm pushed up, and you can have someone immediately like... arm push and like take your back from that position by just pushing past the arm.
Arm push.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Well,
it's either
push behind, you go behind. It's either a duck under,
that's
or
the word
a slide by.
An arm push, slide by, duck. That man, I could not come up with those words. So historically, you do not stand that way in wrestling because of those two things I couldn't come up with. Fabricio Andrey grabs behind the back of Ash's head, and then what you do is you pull down on your elbow, and you pull down on the head. It gets someone to basically stand heavy into that front leg, and you sweep out the front leg.
This is lightweight for one championship.
Oh, it wasn't 45.
What is lightweight?
Oh no, it is 45 because one championship goes up one weight.
Okay.
So it is 40. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But lightweight for Tapology would be 45.
No, it's 1FC lightweight.
Okay, 1FC lightweight is 45. Everyone else is featherweight. Or sorry, 55.
Okay.
If that's super confusing. I love this. He didn't really do anything with the takedown. Fabricio hits Ash with it, and then Ash kind of stands back up. Fabricio doesn't control the distance. He seems to be kind of doing it like a probe, giving Ash a reason. If Ash is going to sit down, he does follow up a later one that's near the ropes, and it's very funny. He pulls Ash back in. And then they wrestle some more, and there's a little more, there's 3 or 4 minutes of wrestling. The thing that was interesting here was once they actually go to the ground, Ash is playing guard, and Fabricio is looking for the passing on top. Ash very much looks like he is only looking for the legs in this match, and it's sort of the only thing that Fabricio is giving him anyway. Yeah. But it's
I don't know, because at the very beginning, he tries, a couple times in the beginning, it almost looks like he's arm saddling and trying to go over for arms. But it looks like Fabricio isn't really engaging enough for him to do that, play that game.
Yeah, Fabricio's playing back on the hips. And Fabricio continues to hit a really, really well-timed Toreando pass, which is basically he pushes the hips in, and then he gets Ash pushing one way, and then he flips the legs, and he basically does a really nice knee step in front of Ash's hip to get the guard pass. I love this Toreando. Fabricio makes it look easy, because the timing he has on it is phenomenal. To get really good at it, you just have to drill and have the timing. I love it. This is the pass he does. This variation of the Toreando is probably my first or second favorite pass. It is my favorite pass from this range.
I like Toreando
because it's so good. And Nogi, you can just push in. They'll push away from you. And if you time the push in, you can lift their legs enough. You get this free pass, and Fabricio hits it a couple of times because Ash is forced to regard in this way. And you just get past. So Fabricio hits that, I think, 3 times in the match, before they move into other stuff, really. And then Ash tries to again, goes in the leg saddle, goes over again. He continues to kind of, throw for the legs. He throws one, kind of like an Aoki lock over the top.
Yeah.
But Fabricio kind of looks at him and, moves out. They never, Herb Dean, the ref of the match, never calls a catch. But I think it's rightfully so. Fabricio is doing something to get out of it, but it looks like he's more so moving out positionally because Ash doesn't have the up angle on the arms that he would need to pull through that leg.
Yeah, if he was standing, maybe it would be a little bit more,
right? And Fabricio pushes him out so that Ash can't even tech out and stand on this, and there's not a whole lot you can do. That is sort of the flavor of the match, and Fabricio eventually he makes an adjustment because Ash keeps pushing him back into the legs. And Fabricio eventually does traditionally what you see at 45, 55, 70 even, passes right to north-south.
Yeah.
Because then it gets Ash out of fighting for the legs, and we see Fabricio kind of play this topside staple where one of his legs is over Ash's arm, and he's looking, and he has an underhook on the arm that his knee is over, and it looks like he's looking to hop up and basically, not flying armbar, but mounted armbar from north-south. That arm,
like the spinny armbar.
Yeah, then it looks cool, but Ash is just staying very flat on his back.
Yeah.
He's never trying to bump Fabricio off. He's sort of just waiting for Fabricio to overcommit so he can pull his elbows back in, which is exactly what you should do.
And he knows, anybody who really knows Fabricio knows that he's a very, active and kind of, he's going to want to do something showy. Yeah. So if you can wait for him to take his weight off of, he's not just going to, grind.
Yes.
He's going to pull off of you, and he's going to jump something, or he's going to try something.
But he's going to do it off of you trying to escape.
Yeah.
And Ash, I think, plays, unfortunately, from a viewership perspective, but from a game's perspective, I think Ash did a great job here.
Yeah, I think you have to play the dead fish game with him.
Yeah, you just kind of wait, hey, man, Fabricio is on top.
Yeah.
Fabricio is now the one that has to progress the action because he's got the north-south. and Ash stays flat shoulders because it's like, hey, if I push Fabricio off here,
Yeah.
he's going to go Kimura, he's going to go armbar.
Well,
he's
he's
gonna go
waiting
back,
for the push because the arms come out.
Yeah,
when you push.
he's waiting for you to make this reaction, and I'm not going to give him the reaction because if he's not going to take it out, I'm not going to give it to him. I don't need to escape the position because other than a positional advancement, he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
And so Fabricio's waiting, Ash is waiting. We sit here for a little bit. They eventually move around a little more. And then we sort of get back into the legs. And
you get into some weird 50-50 pretzel man.
Yeah, where there's
positions.
not really any good leg locks. And then they end the match in mirrored 50-50. No catches called. And
Just kind of cranking on each other.
Yeah. And
but not like making they're more grimacing because they're trying to put everything into it than they're grimacing because it hurts of what they're.
There's like one time Fabricio bellies back and Ash kind of adjusts to like get a better grip on the ankle, and it kind of looked like he may have like needed to defend a little bit, but he never actually has to come up and really turn. So like whatever defense he does with the foot alone, which kind of makes you go, well, if you don't ever have to get the rest of your body in, how tight is it actually?
And one championship has the whole you have to almost try to defend something like you have to react to the submission that's being put upon you.
Yes. If you don't react, if you're not doing anything, like they're very hesitant to call catch. And Herb Dean is a veteran. He's like, it's an ankle lock. It's not, you're probably not going to break it. Yeah. It's probably not going to tap to it.
You don't have enough leg control that you're going to do anything.
Right. And they end that way. Fabricio gets this match on the cards, I think mainly for positional work because there's no catches called. They both have very similar mirrored attacks of kind of equal, I think, strength, but no catches are called.
But I think Fabricio is the aggressor in this situation. Like Ash is the one that's attacking, but he's playing the like the counterattack game.
Yeah.
So Fabricio is the one causing the action to occur, and then Ash is counteracting by attacking.
I think Ash actually has in this match more attacks than Fabricio,
he does.
But the positional work that Fabricio does is the lion's share of the rest of the action in the match. And so it's like, I think it's reasonable to get to Fabricio. This is honestly a match that we kind of watched, and we were sort of talking about how we wanted to talk about, other than the technical side we were going to talk about. Talking about, like, I would have sort of liked to see more from both guys. It's a 10-minute match. There's enough time to work. It just seemed like both people were sort of waiting for the other one to overcommit or to, like, enter. And, like, both of the guys played it very safe almost.
Yeah.
Where it's like Fabricio never really overcommitted and Ash really never overcommitted. And as a result, not a whole lot really happened. Not a whole lot in the match happened other than Fabricio sort of looking for more top position control and being able to move past the legs and moving to north-south.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see more from both guys.
I wonder if how long they've been in Thailand. Because Thailand,
I have no idea.
Because last weekend, Thailand got hit by like a ridiculous.
Myanmar did.
All of Asia
the whole region,
got hit with like a 7 something. No,
7.2.
It was like it was like a huge earthquake. Like it was an earthquake where
because Zach and I were doing commentary at Copa.
Yeah,
and I remember driving down, and I'd driven to his house, and he had driven me down. We drove down together to Virginia. And I remember seeing a building going. I was like, "Ooh, this is a new big earthquake that just hit Myanmar."
Oh yeah.
So
a couple buildings that there was a lot of destruction.
Yeah. I wonder how much that impacted. If this was in Thailand.
Yeah, I was just that just clicked. I was like, oh, I wonder if they were there for it or if they came after it.
Yeah, I do not know, but yeah, it was again. I enjoyed the match. I like watching both these guys fight. It was slower than I'd like, but there's still a lot of really interesting tactical pieces that I enjoyed it. I just would have liked to see a little more urgency.
Yeah.
I think from both guys because...
Well, it looked like Fabricio kept on kind of like a cat or like an animal that kind of
all coiled up,
coiled up and sits on its haunches, and it's like it's about to attack, but it's not yet attacking. And I feel like that's how Fabricio was for like this whole match.
Yeah,
it was like he was kind of like back on his haunches, like I'm gonna get him, but like he never actually.
That's the way I was waiting for that moment for him to just like, hey man, I'm gonna slam the gas down and go. And then neither guy did that.
Even on the foot sweeps, like he hit the foot sweeps, but he didn't cover when he would hit them.
Right. The one he did, but it was in that, and that was like, okay, there it is. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah.
And then Ash plays guard well enough. Fabricio drags him back in. It was like, okay. And then.
But then I wondered if it was just him trying to like fuck with him.
Yeah, I don't know. It was an odd match. Again, not a bad match.
Yeah.
It just I like both these guys in their game. I wanted to kind of see more like less of a safe game from either guy with more activity. Again, I think any guy you put these against, I'll be happy with. You put him against Cole, you put him against Marcelo, I'll be happy with. Like I'm very, very happy to have both these guys in one championship. Put him against Dante.
Like, no, Dante's going against Ty.
But I mean, like, I'm happy to see anyone that one has on their roster right now. I'd honestly genuinely be pretty happy to see versus either Ash Williams or Fabricio Andrey. It was just sort of a less aggressive match than I would have liked to see. Any of your thoughts you got on the match?
Nope.
So that was that match. Again, it was fun. It was on One Championship Fight Night 30. It's on Prime Video. Starts at about an hour and 5 minutes of the card, so it starts really early in the card. But it's definitely worth 10 minutes, especially if you were a smaller guy like I am. So let's move into the preview here. We also coming up on May 2nd have Tyra Tolo, which is the current 185-pound champ, versus Dante Leon. It's a rematch from 2020.
And it's on One Championship.
Yeah, on One Championship.
I never wrote that down there. But
And Dante won that in 2020. I think that was on Who's Number One, if I recall correctly.
What, Dante?
Yeah.
It didn't. Where I got the information from, it didn't say where he had won.
I think it was I think it was the same match that Cade went against Ethan Cranston for their rematch. For some reason, I think that was the card back in 2020. Could be wrong against that. But so that'll come up again. That's the next match we have for ONE FC. It's an awesome match. I can't wait to preview that. We'll preview that end of April, and then we also have BJJ Stars happening on April 26th. We'll preview that later. Let's preview it. It's technically not a rubber match. It is just a trilogy match between Kaynan Duarte and Nick Rodriguez. So I'm going to lay out some history for this match. These two first meet in ADCC 2019. Kaynan's second ADCC because he lost to Keenan via heel hook when he was still a brown belt in 2017 in Finland. And then Kaynan Duarte comes in as a black belt, makes it all the way through plus 99, and then because he's moved up in weight, and he gets against Nick Rodriguez. Nick Rodriguez, still a blue belt at the time in this match. Nick Rodriguez has been training for like 2.5 years. Yep.
Just real quick, they went against each other at Grapple Fest.
Oh, that match. I remember that now. Okay.
Grapple Fest.
Yeah. That was a fun one. That was a fun.
It was a referee decision for Dante at Grapple Fest in 2020.
Oh, that was a good match.
Yeah. But
I really enjoyed that match. Okay.
But anyway.
I had that wrong.
No, I was curious myself. I was like, where did that happen at? Okay, back to what we were.
Back to other rematches.
Yeah.
So this is when Nick Rodriguez was still a blue belt in 2019. He'd been training like 2.5 years. Still coached by Jerry Budo at the time before he made the move to even New Wave. And DDS at the time, and then New Wave. That is how long ago. So this is almost 6 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
Kaynan wins this match on points. He gets the back at one point. Late into the match, or middle way through the points period of the match, because it's a 20-minute finals match for ADCC, and he gets 3 points. He then proceeds to get 2 negatives for not doing anything else really with it. That would be somewhat of a trend for Kaynan's finals performances. But again, Kaynan said it in his 2022 win. He goes, "You got to do what you got to do to win. Like, this is my career. I have to do to win. I can't fault Kaynan Duarte for doing that at all." They then go against, so Nick Rodriguez gets silver medal at ADCC, his first silver medal. Kaynan Duarte takes his first world championship at ADCC in 2019.
And this is when Kaynan Duarte had hair.
He did have hair.
He did.
He was also a little bigger. Like, he
had
bulked
blonde
up
hair,
to get to 99.
And he looked a little chunk.
Yep, because he was bulking up to 99. Fast forward 2 weeks later, or 2 or 3, I think it was literally 2 weeks later.
Yeah, it was.
This gets booked as the main event for Fight to Win 134 in Philly.
Yeah.
And we drove up there. I drove up there.
I think I was there, but I don't remember. I went to a bunch of them. That might have. Okay, so I think. Yeah, I think I was there.
This is pre-you on the podcast, actually.
Yeah, but this would have been. This was the time period where I went to all of these things.
Yep. So I actually interviewed Kaynan Duarte and Nick Rodriguez on this card. That famous forced perspective picture with me next to Nick Rodriguez where he looks enormous, the one that made Rogan, that's from this interview that I did with him. So I also interviewed Seth this time. This one is about a 2.5-minute match where Kaynan Duarte wins via heel hook in really the second exchange of the match. Nick Rodriguez in this match is now a purple belt because he had gotten his purple belt 2 weeks prior after getting silver medal at ADCC, and we all kind of went, in air quotes, purple belt.
Yeah,
like
purple
you
belt.
get silver at the World Championships in ADCC, and then you get like, hey man, what? I was a purple belt at the time. I was going, what are we doing here? What am I doing here? This is crazy. So that was both their matches. It has been 6 years since their first sets of matches.
To finish that,
Yes.
Duarte got a heel hook.
Duarte got a heel hook, yeah. From like almost kind of like a Texas Cloverleaf saddle position. It's an odd heel hook. We'll break it down a little more in a minute here, but those are the first two matches. In the past, since 2019, again, both matches happened in 2019. Since then, Kaynan Duarte has won another ADCC.
Yes.
Nick Rodriguez has got another silver at ADCC.
And Kaynan Duarte has been kind of unstoppable.
Kaynan Duarte has won another 80. Did he win 3? Or no, who won 99? Did he win 8?
No, he won Absolute and 99, right? Did he win both?
Is he the current champion, 2024?
I think so.
Okay, so 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So Kaynan Duarte keeps winning. You can't stop him. And then
He also did the neon face to Pato.
he did. I'm mad about that still. He did do that.
We watched a match in the Absolute division
of ADCC 2024.
and Pato was trying to get under him, and he was just like neon face, and it was like it wasn't. It
like,
was
oh, that's mean.
It was like the mean neon face,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, that
It was
sucks.
Pato is really dangerous, and Kaynan Duarte
is like
the next match after.
He's like little man, you're not getting under me, and he just goes neon face.
Because Kaynan has PTSD from ADCC 2019 because he beats Nick Rodriguez in the finals of Class 99 and then goes into Absolute, wins, and then gets heel hooked by Lachlan Giles.
Yeah.
A 77er, and Pato is a 66er.
Yeah.
And so Kaynan Duarte is going, I'm not doing this shit again in the Absolute, getting heel hooked by a small guy. And so he plays it a much meaner way than he did.
It was pretty funny.
And it was kind of funny. But Nick Rodriguez since then, 2 ADC silver medal, or 1 additional ADC silver medalist, and $1 million at CJI.
Yep.
Nick Rodriguez has gone on to get purple belt, to get brown belt, to get black belt, to win $1 million, start B team with the guys, everything else. He's had a kid since then.
Yeah.
He's won a bunch of other tournaments. He's won EBI. The list goes on. Duarte has gone on to do, a number of other really, really impressive things. Both these guys weirdly are at the same place in their career now. Accolades-wise, they're both continuing to win.
Yeah.
They're both continuing to be on the top of the game at heavyweight, and very few guys can beat them. That being said, both of these guys... Sorry, continue.
Yeah, that being said, what's really funny is the co-main event is Victor Hugo that beat Nicky Rod a couple weeks ago.
And Luke Griffith, who beat Kaynan Duarte on the Fast Invitational.
Yeah.
Which is like, I'm on that. So we'll talk about that next week. That'll be the main event for next week.
But it's kind of weird that both of them are the match before them.
But it's all about who's got the status, man. Who is the big ticket seller for Flow, and it's those guys. So the interesting thing, like technically, between 2019, Kaynan and Nick Rodriguez, and 2025, Duarte and Nick Rodriguez, is their games kind of look a little similar.
They're similar, but they're different.
Nick Rodriguez has definitely expanded his game. Expanded his game significantly. His body lock passing has gone from like it is a thing he does and tries to do and almost does in their first match at ADCC. To a thing that he is the rider lock now. Like it is a thing he is phenomenally good at, and he can get past almost everyone except Victor Hugo. With that. His rear naked choke game is still phenomenal.
Actually, he got past Victor Hugo with it.
He did get past Victor, but
he got past
being able to stabilize, yes. Duarte is like again, both guys have just improved, but Rodriguez has added way more tools to his game, and it weirdly enough.
Well, Nicky Rod has added more tools, but Kaynan has kind of sharpened his tools.
Kaynan looks similar, but now has significantly better leg lock defense. Which again,
he also doesn't look like the same like Marshmallow.
No, he looks cut and he's like in phenomenal shape. Allegedly, always just a brick of a human to move like weirdly, incredibly strong. But we hear that again from all the top.
He's also
10 guys.
ginormous.
Yeah, he's very big as well. You don't think about it, and I stood next to him to interview him, and I was like, oh, these are big dudes. I'm a little guy. I'm trying to think of like other specific things that Duarte like. Duarte overall is smoother. His pressure game is better. His control is better. It's less scrambly. It is much more I'm going to say almost like to the point.
Yeah.
Like the way that he controls Craig Jones in 2022 is like, yeah, Duarte could do that in 2019.
Yeah.
But it didn't quite look the same. Now Duarte is like a very finished product. He's a champion. He's been a champion. Look at him. He looked phenomenal. Like he looked so good at ADCC 2024.
Yeah.
We kind of like skipped past it. Like he just has been the champion now, the long-standing champion for a while now. Nick Rodriguez has continued to be in that number 2 spot and the number 1 spot, depending on the tournament that he's been there. But he now has much better leg lock defense. He has much better passing. He has much better like control. He's much better. Like he is now a full black belt, where in their first match he was essentially a purple belt. Like as far as game progression at the world elite level, the depth of improvement he's made is now from purple to black belt.
I just think it'll be interesting to see how Nicky Rod goes from the loss recently to Victor Hugo.
That's kind of the other thing.
And how he comes into this match, because the way he explained it on his podcast, like the
Simple Man
podcast, was that he was paying too much attention to Victor Hugo, and he didn't want to get in Victor Hugo's full guard.
Which is a really interesting observation, because
it was like, and he was trying so hard not to do that he was kind of neglecting other things. So like,
that's something he's never done before, by the way.
Standing, he said, like, he was more concerned with Victor Hugo getting, like, a deep underhook or, like, an overhook or something that he could pull guard from. And that he then paid attention to that too much, and then he got Uchi'd. And he admits to getting Uchi'd. It wasn't a slip. It was an Uchi. Yeah.
It's really interesting, because the thing that has always impressed me the most
it's how
Nick Rodriguez.
Nick Rod talks about himself in third person.
A little bit. No,
he does.
His game. Like, he doesn't matter who you are, what's in front of him. Like, he's going to run his game on you, and he will do it almost in the way that Levi Jones-Leary does it. I mean, it's like, hey, man, I don't care what we're doing. I don't care what's going on.
But I think
you're going to be in front of my game. You're playing my game. That's all that matters. And so for that Hugo match, for him to not do that is very out of character.
But it's also because he had three losses to him in a row, relatively recent, within the last few years.
Yeah.
You know?
It makes sense. And again, I would almost be disappointed if he hadn't made those considerations. But again, it is very historically out of character for the way that Rodriguez takes it.
No,
now coming off you're coming off a loss to Hugo, and now it's like, okay, what possibly do you do? You're gonna run into Hugo again. How much does that weigh, like, mentally in his mind going into this matchup with Kaynan, another guy who has 2 wins? And you're like, is that something that is in the forefront of his mind, or is that something that like doesn't play a factor for him? We don't know. Only Nicky Rod can answer that. But we don't on this show talk a lot about athlete psychology, because we're not in the rooms with the guys, and I'm not a professional psychologist, so it'd just be like hot air on the mic. But you and I have been in enough fight camps for enough time and seen enough athletes and been in the back rooms and seen, like, athlete mentality plays a huge piece in a lot of times the successes and failures of any professional athlete in the sport. Combat sports athletes specifically are a very interesting bunch. It is for a guy that
no, keep on going.
For a guy that doesn't lose a whole lot like Nick Rodriguez, it'll be very interesting for him to go back to back with a guy like Victor Hugo that very much has his number. It's a horrible style matchup for him, and like he's just been unable to make the changes to beat Victor Hugo, and then immediately come back into a Kaynan Duarte match, a guy that beat him in 2019 in the absolute final, in ADCC finals, and then finished him by heel hook in 2.5 minutes at Fight to Win. Again, he's a way different guy, but it's still I am curious if that is going to be a consideration, like how much that will affect his thought process, because Nicky Rod, to his credit, man, if you ever hear him talk about his preparation and mentally, he said something a couple of years ago that I love mentally. It's on the competition day, on fight day. He tries to make as few decisions as possible. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. I was like, he's very...
he's not a dumb guy. He's a smart guy.
No, but he has a lot of kind of, I wouldn't say it, a lot of what's the word?
Preparation, thought, forethought.
But not like not like planned preparation, but almost like I do
ritual preparation.
Ritual, yeah. He does a lot of like ritualistic
like, hey man,
things.
I know I'm gonna wake up at this time. I'm gonna eat this breakfast. I'm gonna go to this place at this time. Like,
and he does everything ahead of time, so he's not making any decisions.
And so the day of the match,
doesn't drive the day of.
Yeah, he's like, I forgot it's gonna pick me up. It's like a lot of athletes don't take it as seriously as he does, and which is why he's had the success that he has. Partially because he doesn't like wing it game day.
Yeah.
He's like, hey man, I wake up and my day is planned out until fight day, so that when I'm making the decisions in the day, I don't have decision fatigue. I'm not having to do a bunch of other stuff. And there is a lot of truth to that, and there actually is some real science actually behind that, and like decision fatigue. Like, hey, you haven't had your whole day thing. That's also why he sleeps before. Yeah. Because he's just hanging out, he's just sleeping. And then now he comes, I think it's great. I love it. And then he comes onto the match and he's really like, his brain has no fatigue from the day. And he can go and make good split-second decisions to win. It is interesting to see, like, will these losses affect his preparation and his mental space going in? Because I think that's a really, really important piece for Nick Rodriguez. So
I think that changes the way, you know, you come into this. And I don't know how all these guys interact with each other, but the way it looks right now, it looks like him and Victor Hugo are in the same corner, which would be the same room. So you're now also really put into the same room as the
because you're not going to put Luke Griffith and Nick Rodriguez, former training partners, together. You're not going to put them in the same room.
I don't know, but the way it's written up right now, you put both of them in the same room warming up, probably on the same mat because they're back-to-back matches. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to see the guy that I just lost to, and like maybe they're cool with each other and they're chill, but you know,
maybe you're going into a guy like Duarte. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. So we've talked about the X factors now. The mental piece we never get into on the show, but we talk about it a lot.
It's just I wonder about that kind of shit because like
it matters.
I'm the type of person
have a tangible thing that matters.
Some of that shit will fuck with you in a way that you don't really realize. Yep. Because you always hear about like the backroom brawls because there's also the fights that happen in the back.
There is.
Yeah.
Less nowadays. I think more people are a little more professional nowadays than back in the day.
Yeah.
There's money on the line in a way there wasn't. Back in the day, it was a little more pride. Today, it's more monetary. But
remember the slap? Yeah. Remember when Galvao got slapped by Gordon Ryan?
That did happen, didn't it?
The Gordon Ryan slap.
Yeah. We had to talk about that for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we've talked about kind of the intangibles and like the mentality going into these guys, some of the history behind this matchup. Let's talk about the technical stuff. Both Kaynan Duarte and Nick Rodriguez have gotten better at leg locks. I think the way that Nick Rodriguez gets caught in the fight to win match in 2019 is he's a guy that's not super experienced with leg locks. He kind of zigs when he should have zagged, trying to take Kaynan's back off of a half berimbolo kiss the dragon attempt. Kaynan does a great job of threading his leg through.
Yeah, if you crab ride wrong, you have the same back exposure as the person that
and that's what he tries to do, and Kaynan swings his leg up in there, essentially goes to saddle, and then comes and goes like cloverleaf heel hook from a kind of an odd angle that Nicky Rod can't get out of. The ADCC match is much more of a traditional, especially at the time, like very wrestling heavy. Kaynan Duarte gives him the leg early before the points happen, takes him down. Nick Rodriguez playing from the guard. He actually looks better through Kaynan's guard than I remember.
He almost gets Kaynan's back twice.
And I forgot about that.
Not fully, but he gets a good look at it.
In the video, you can see me on the mat during this because I had credentialed back then, and I forgot that had happened. I was like, oh yeah, 76 years is a long time.
Yeah.
I think that Rodriguez is a less explosive back taker now, but I think he is a more technical back taker. Yeah. Like before when he's young in ADCC and like the first couple of years he was there, he's just exploding through and he's going to take your back just like because he has a feeling for where your shoulders are going to be and he's going to get there. Yeah. He has an amazing rear naked choke. Nowadays, I think we're seeing a lot more craft from the way he takes the back. He's allowing less space on the hips. He's allowing he looks more like a jiu-jitsu guy now taking the back than he ever has. It is very possible that Rodriguez can end up on Duarte's back, but also in their first match, we saw Kaynan Duarte take Nick Rodriguez's back, get the points for it. And then we saw a Nick Rodriguez that really didn't have a great avenue out of back control back then, because probably not a lot of guys in the room were putting him in back control for any sustained amount of time. Like going into ADCC trials and that, it was less a thing they were working on. Rodriguez was just kind of like leveraging his A game by all accounts. And I don't know how much situational and positional stuff they were doing, especially, again, he'd only been training 2 years. How much could you have possibly done? Now we know with the introduction of him going to into ADCC, into EBI, like he's done these tournaments, they've done these back drills. He was at DDS for a while. He was never at New A, but he was at DDS. We now know, we've seen his back control and his back escapes is better than it was in 2019.
He wasn't at oh no, he wasn't.
New Wave was split. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I always want to do that. I always want to have it at the same time as Puerto Rico being New Wave.
Yeah, that's what my brain was telling me, but it was post Puerto Rico.
And I do the same thing with the timelines.
Yeah.
The way that he gets controlled by Kaynan Duarte in their 2019 match in ADCC, I just don't think. I think Rodriguez now has enough tools that he can get out of the back.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be there sustained way. Now again, who's number one? Uses the 3-round system where it's continual, and so this is going to be who can do the most positional work and who can like get the best catches and position. I kind of would not be surprised for Rodriguez to be able to push a better pace than Kaynan. That being said, I have historically been impressed with Kaynan late and his ability to kind of turn it on and put people in bad spots and then control. This rule set, I kind of think, favors Rodriguez in a weird way where he's going to have sustained bursts early, middle, late, where he's going to put something up positionally versus Kaynan. I think if Kaynan gets to a good spot, we know he will sit there for a while.
Yeah.
And if he could hold Rodriguez on a spot for in a bad way for a couple of minutes, he can win, but being able to do that for a 15-minute period, I don't know if it absolutely isn't as realistic as it was in 2019, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I think Duarte is still the better technician. He has the better record overall. He has the wins. But I think the rule set, specifically the way Who's Number One does their rule set, makes Rodriguez a very live dog in this matchup.
Yeah.
I think his leg locks are not going to – I think the leg locks are not going to be a factor.
No.
In this one, in the same way that they were, again, in the Fight to Win match in 2019. Both guys have improved leg lock defense. Both guys can be leg locked. Both guys can leg lock now.
Yeah.
So it is actually seeing a leg lock finish wouldn't surprise me here from either guy because, again, Duarte historically, like the leg lock by Cyborg and the leg lock by Tim Spriggs, Rodriguez getting heel hooked by Gordon Ryan, getting heel hooked by Kaynan Duarte, versus upper echelon guys, which Kaynan and Nick Rodriguez both are, it is an area of weakness historically that we've seen from these guys, but it's also something we've seen both of them put a ton of work into.
I haven't seen Nicky Rod tap to one in a long time.
Gordon, I think.
Oh.
I think Gordon and ADCC 2022 was the last time we saw it. Gordon switched to that long sleeve rash guard, gets the heel hook. I don't think that we have seen him. I don't remember the last time I've seen the Rodriguez tap other than the Victor Hugo match.
Yeah.
It's very rare. He does not get submitted with any degree of frequency other than Hugo and Gordon.
Yeah.
That's all. And Duarte. I think offhand, those are the only times I can think that he has been finished.
Yeah.
Offhand is those 3 times at black belt. Sorry. Maybe ever.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another instance. He's been beaten, but submitted, I can't really think about it.
He doesn't get submitted often.
Yeah. Again, neither does Duarte. But so, Miranda, what is your? I haven't given my pick yet. Do you have a pick here? Do you have a kind of a dynamic for the matchup, or what are you thinking about here?
I mean, I seem to think that Nicky Rod does best in the a later portion of a match against someone who he can't just blow
out of the water,
crush.
Yeah.
I'm so big, I'm going to crush you kind of thing. And I think Kaynan is bigger than him currently, I think. Right? Because Kainan's a big boy. I don't know. They might be about the same size.
I think they're about the same size.
But anyway, there isn't going to be huge disparity between the two of them.
Like Victor Hugo had a big. It was a much bigger guy.
But he's also not going to be able to push Kaynan around. It's not like he's going to be able Kaynan is in that Atos room where I'm sure he's getting pushed around and shoved.
Yeah,
and like
where he's doing the pushing around, where it's like you're not. He's in a very very high level room.
So like it's not like he's not going to be a pushover. So I think that means that Nick is going to have to work on getting his pass set up. It's not like he's going to get it like immediately. He's going to have to work on it, which then pushes his activity to being like, let's say
Rodriguez is able to take down Kaynan here, because Kaynan we saw was
kind of
pull. Yeah. Do you think Kaynan will pull? Yeah. I think Kaynan will pull here. Yeah, I don't think.
I think Kaynan will stand for a bit, but after a while, like, why not?
I've been consistently really impressed with Rodriguez's wrestling.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a lot of guys.
The only thing that could really fuck that up is something like Nicky Rod somehow gets to Kainan's back standing and then like jumps his back or something like that. That would be
like not a fluke, but like didn't expect that moment.
Yeah, that would be and
kind of like what Luke Griffith did.
Yeah, and if something like that, like that happened, then that's one thing. But Luke Griffith is also very tall and lanky.
Yeah,
and Nicky Rod doesn't really have the tall lankiness.
And that can't play that specifically with Kainan's tendencies. But if now if Dima's in that corner for Nick Rodriguez. Dude, the more I kind of think about this, the more I kind of want to do what I never do.
Yeah, you almost have to have, like, if Nicky Rod can get something immediately going, like immediately, then that's one thing. But if not, he normally is more of a late round.
He's a burn you out kind of guy.
Yeah, burn you out and then pass you. And I think Kaynan can stay active for that entire period. Mm-hmm. So I think
stay in it and stay
I don't know
present.
Yeah, I don't think he could outwork him. Now, does this come down to a really boring positional control match? It could definitely be a boring whoever has the better position, and then Nicky Rod wins because he's just on top and he's controlling the position.
I'm gonna say it.
It could be boring like that too.
I think Nick Rodriguez gets Kainan's back. I think Rodriguez chokes Kaynan.
You think so?
The more I think about the rule set, the more I think about how the previous match went, the more I think about ADCC, the more I think about Kainan's recent match with Luke.
I don't know if Nick has the attributes.
Yeah, but I think he looks at that match, looks at what worked in 2019. Duarte is a more sound grappler than he was even then, but the tendencies are still there. And again, the New Wave camp and Danaher talked about the tendencies. Duarte does have a lot of tendencies and things that he's kept over time. If Rodriguez can plan for it, and then it feeds into what Rodriguez does well, which is like, I am going to do this thing in this match to you, not the counter game of like, I'm going to do that. And then if Kainan's going to pull, his passing is better than it's ever been.
Yeah,
he passes. He doesn't have the attributes that Hugo has. He got past Hugo, but he gets there. He eventually gets through. Kaynan Duarte put a lot of pressure on Kaynan. Like, Kaynan will start to really try to get out, and then can Nick Rodriguez capitalize on that? Yeah, I really think that the improvements that Nick Rodriguez has made since 2019. Again, I'm gonna do what I never do. I'm gonna pick the guy with the 2 losses versus the other guy. I'm gonna go Nick Rodriguez here. I functionally understand his game better as an analyst, I think is the other part here. Versus Duarte, like, he's just been beating everyone for a long time, but he does have these weird fluke performances now and again. And I think if there's a guy that you're going to have a fluke performance against, Nick Rodriguez is that guy. But
I don't know. I still go with Kaynan.
You think Kaynan by activity, by points?
Yeah. I just say Kaynan.
I think in the rule set, Nick Rodriguez is going to be a little more active.
Yeah, I think that too.
You can pick Kaynan. That's fine.
Yeah,
we can counter pick. I think it's not a bad pick to make.
I think at some point somebody is going to
make a mistake and then get subbed.
Because Nicky Rod likes that body lock pass.
Yeah.
If somebody can sweep him when he's body lock passing, like all the way over.
Yeah.
It's got to be somebody with like Kaynan has like long legs, little torso.
Similar to like Hugo does.
Yeah. And I don't know. He
gets on top like it did Craig Jones.
Yeah,
and he holds
I
him
just
there.
I just don't see Kaynan as
being able to get kind of controlled in the way that Nicky Rod controls people.
Yeah,
yeah, pushing off like Duarte, like Hugo. Yeah, I mean, I could see it as well where Duarte can do enough. He can put Nick Rodriguez in a bad spot here and there in the first section of the match, maybe in the last section of the match. Yeah. Potentially pull a sub off of him because he has that huge depth of experience. I think it's probably the safer pick to go Kaynan here, just based on Kaynan's credentials, and he has 2 wins prior. I'm going to go Nick Rodriguez.
Okay, Kaynan's actually only 208.
So he's the smaller guy. So
he'll be smaller.
He'll have 18 pounds different, because Rodriguez is usually like 235.
Yeah, he's like 6'1", 208.
Okay. I think he'll probably come in at 215 for this one.
Yeah.
So Rodriguez will have 20 pounds on him. So, again, I think Rodriguez...
Well, I mean, in that... But, I don't know.
If you think Duarte points Duarte sucks,
I'm going to go Duarte. I don't know why,
Gut pick, Miranda?
Gut pick.
A classic gut pick.
Duarte, gut pick.
Okay. So...
But, the other thing is he might not be in the same corner as Victor Hugo, because Sanji is in this, and Sanji's going against Richie Martinez, and there's no way they're putting Sanji in the same space as Luke Griffith, who's going to go against Victor. Right? They're going to put Sanji and Victor in the same corner.
Correct, yeah.
So I think this is just like maybe they're just putting names versus
together.
Names.
We're looking at who's number 1 card. So I have nothing else on Kaynan and Victor Hugo.
No,
Kaynan and Nick Rodriguez.
This is just like my weird things I think about. Like kind of I like to go horse racing sometimes.
Yeah.
And I could care less about your record as a horse. Like I like to watch you.
A vibes check.
Yeah. And I like to see how you behave. And then that's how I bet on you. It's just the way I do it.
Next week, we are going to preview Luke Griffith versus Victor Hugo. Super excited. That'll be the main topic of the episode. We are also going to preview Women's Featherweight Championship match between Elizabeth Clay and Helena Carvar. And to talk about that. Welterweight bout.
That has to be a, what's it called, too?
A baller match. Indeed, Miranda will be.
No, it is a rematch because they went against each other in ADCC, and Elizabeth Clay beat Helena, didn't she? Isn't that who beat her at trials?
When she was a child, yes. At West Coast Trials 2022.
I guess, yeah. But they were both children.
No.
Elizabeth Clay's kind of a child.
Elizabeth Clay is 24 or 25 now.
I mean, she did.
We've been covering her since she won trials at 15.
She did just pump out
a baby. Yeah. So, but now, again, much older. Carvar is now 18. Like, there's a gap here. I'm amped for that match. Welterweight bout between Andrew Tackett and Fabricio Cristina. Lightweight bout between Owen Jones and Julian Espinoza.
The Andrew versus February.
Yeah.
They're going to be all over the place.
Also, you know who else is going against William Tackett?
Who?
Tyrotola. Allegedly. Oh, sorry, no. Achilles Rocha. At 5% invitation.
Oh, you know what? They announced that like today, didn't they?
Yeah, they just announced it. Yeah. Because somebody sent me, actually Jeff sent it to me as well. That'll be fun. Again, it's not Andrew, but it's William. So that'll be fun on 5% Invitational coming up. But also next week, we're going to do Owen Jones, Julian Espinoza.
Oh, I thought you meant more was announced for this card.
No,
it's
sorry.
the other card that looks exactly like this card.
Font.
And then we get confused over who's on what card.
Sanjay Ribeiro versus Richard Martinez is the beginning of the main card. Undercard, we have Chris Wojcik versus Michael Esquivel. We have Sebastian Attard versus Colin Carr. Taylor Hillshaw versus Trinity Pun. That will be good. I see why it's on the undercard, but I'd love to see that higher up. And Ben Eddy versus Josh Weiland. So that'll be next week's show. Miranda, anything else you got going on this week? You're leaving for a flight soon.
Yeah, I'm leaving for a flight tomorrow morning. This is what I want to know. How is it 2025 and we still have Gordon Ryan in the standings? Why is he ranked number 1 still?
Has he had a match this year?
No.
He had a match in August of 2024.
2 matches. That was it for the whole year.
Yuri and Penna. Again, you'd win the super fight, but we can die in this hill later, Miranda, at a later date.
Why is he still ranked? I don't think he should be ranked anymore. But that's my opinion.
So, anything else you got going on this week?
I have to go to Indiana. We'll see how that goes. And then I got to go back to training and training. I don't think I have anything else going on that I'm aware of, but I could be also missing something that's directly in front of my face.
It does happen. So I'm just hanging out this week, doing some work, and then prepping for next week's show to basically talk about the rest of the card.
Yep. But
it should be a lot of fun. Miranda, as always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, the co-host.
Miranda.
And we are the Grappling Rewind. See that what it is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.